Welcome to the Dspn podcast. We are back here, and obviously we're going to talk about the Pro Bowl. Just kidding, no one watched it. So we're not going to talk about the Pro Bowl. We are going to start with our final Super Bowl predictions. Mason, who you got? Obviously,
I think this is gonna be a close game, and I think it's too close to call for me. I'm not gonna call. I want the Eagles to win,
go
but
Birds.
so does everybody. But I think it's gonna be a coin toss, honestly, with different factors weighing in. You know what I'm talking about. But I think it's gonna be mostly a flip of the coin here.
I think I speak for 90% of America. I guarantee you is mostly just tuning in for Kendrick at this point because
this point, no one really wants to watch this game.
So they're tuning in for Kendrick, and then the second half you will see the viewership go up the first half, peak at halftime, and then drop drastically.
Yeah.
And then maybe people will keep it on for the commercials. I'm excited to watch the Fantastic Four trailer, but I've personally got this game is also too close to call. I would say if I had to put money on it, I would probably have to bet on the Chiefs as much as I love the Eagles, solely because they're the Chiefs.
I think we should be like people like covering the election on like the states, like this state is too close to call. It's like this game is too close to call. 60% of bettors bet on the Chiefs. But here we go. Philadelphia is a good scrappy team, but this game is just too close to call.
That's kind of the Super Bowl, but I know a game that also is too close to call. That's right, everybody. The real reason we all wake up in the mornings for Super Bowl Sunday, the Puppy Bowl. Mason,
yes.
You got Team Rough or Team Fluff?
Honestly, this is a real tough game here. We've got a bunch of really good athletes, a bunch of really great athletes, and just some real competitors up on the field, and just a real battle for the Puppy Bowl this year. The past few games have been very, very competitive.
The last one, I believe, was there. 71-69, I believe, was the score.
I do not know, but I mean these two teams have just such deep-rooted history with each other. It's almost like they're the two teams that's ever played in the Puppy Bowl. So I mean that's got to count for something. But they are just so like just historic franchises. But I feel like the edge is going to go out to Team Rough. I got Team Rough on Sunday, so that's just my pick. Honestly, that's just my pick. But I know a lot of bets are going the other way.
I'm going Team Fluff. I know they're the underdog, for lack of better words. But I really think Team Fluff has the rights, able to pull it out.
I couldn't disagree with you more. So,
we will see.
We'll see in the Puppy
We will
Bowl.
see.
That's a real game I'm watching Sunday.
That's a real game.
I've got this Eagles stuff on, and I've been rooting for the Eagles for all my life, and I don't really care about the Eagles. I'm just rooting for the Puppy Bowl at this point.
Yeah, we're gonna wake up and watch that.
All I care about is the Puppy Bowl. This AJ Brown Super Bowl shirt. I mean, I don't really care. It's
okay.
I just care about the Puppy Bowl.
All right, we're gonna go on to the actual news. Now it's been surprisingly active for being the 1 week without football, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess people were sick of not seeing football for the first weekend since August, so including me.
So, our first big piece of news was Myles Garrett requests a trade from Cleveland, and Cooper Kupp also requests a trade from LA.
I think that's surprising for both parties, honestly. Myles Garrett is Defensive Player of the Year and has won it in the past, and he's been the best player defensively in the league, hands down, undisputed. But, Cleveland's
They're the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland's kind of a dumpster fire, and has been for
God knows how long.
Before they were in Baltimore. So that's got to count for something. So I can't really blame him for requesting a trade. I mean, he's going to take his talent to South Beach or something. It's like LeBron here. LeBron was a great player with Cleveland. Cleveland was terrible. Look how this intertwines. Takes his talents to South Beach. Like, this is what's going to happen.
The only thing that I remember a lot about Myles Garrett, like the one big thing that pops in my mind, I know this, obviously Myles Garrett is a player, I've watched him since he came in the league, but the one thing I remember is when he grabbed Mason Rudolph's helmet, and started bonking him in the head with it.
Yeah, Myles Garrett is a great guy off the field. Like, he's been nominated for Man of the Year, but
He
I
crashed
think a
out.
lot of people cannot get over the fact he did hit a man over the head of the helmet, which is not allowed in football.
Shocker. Shocker.
That is not a legal move.
But the Cooper Cup is the one I'm surprised about. I'm really surprised he requested a trade.
They're really, really, really banking on Puka Nacua now. They are really going to be putting their trust in him, and I would too. I think right now is a good time to move on from Cooper Cup. It's not like he's not dropped off in any
He's not getting any younger.
performance, but he's not getting younger. And at this point, if you let him walk in free agency, it'd kind of seem pointless. And if you trade him in 2 years and he's not as good as he was, it also kind of seems pointless. So it's good to get something out of him. Maybe a first, maybe a decent player. So
it's gonna be, if they trade him, it's going to be, you're gonna get at least a first round pick out of it.
Yeah, they're gonna get something substantial,
which will be great for them. Like, personally, if I were them, I'd probably start looking at a quarterback sooner rather than later because Matt Stafford's again not getting any younger.
Yeah.
So like I'm looking at a young guy out there. I don't know who. I would say they should trade up and draft somebody. But this year's quarterback class is eh.
Yeah, no.
So
this
I would wait for next year because I believe that it's a pretty good quarterback class next year, correct? I know Drew Aller's in it.
Yeah, and that does not make it a good class.
And who's the guy who just went to Miami, used to play for Georgia?
Oh, Carson Beck. He's also kind of bad.
All right.
These next quarterback classes are rough. Pretty rough. So it's time to trade for a quarterback instead of drafting one.
Somebody who got out of college at just the right time, Chip Kelly was hired as the Raiders offensive coordinator.
He's going to run them into the ground, too. He ran the Eagles into the ground, and he's going to do the same thing.
As an Eagles fan, you were probably not
He ran the Eagles into the ground, and then he ran UCLA football into the ground, and still got hired otherwhere. Like, they still got hired somewhere else.
Obviously they have Pete Carroll as their coach, but like...
Yeah, they're going to have to give McCain on the sidelines. He's so old. They're gonna have to give him electrolytes after every quarter.
I was told this from Dad. We had somebody who was listening to our podcast, and they're the same age as Pete Carroll, and they were like, "Hey, stop making jokes."
Sorry for whoever's listening to this. Sorry, man.
You know who you are. I just whispered it in Mason's ear, but
it's a little, Is it realistic? Kinda. Sometimes.
Speaking of somebody else that might need a cane on the sideline, Chuck Pagano was hired as the Ravens' senior secondary coach.
All right.
I don't really know what that means.
All right, that's a pointless title, and it doesn't mean anything. Next subject.
We'll go on to basketball with probably the biggest news of the week. Luka Doncic, Max Kleber, and Markieff Morris were traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick.
Wow.
Stupid idiot trade for the Mavericks.
Yeah, that's dumb. They thought that Luka Doncic was like a 400-pound just bum. Like they traded him because they viewed him as like some overweight fat slob.
That definitely doesn't average like 25 points a game.
Yeah, they viewed him as just nothing, and he just took him single-handedly carried the team on his back to the NBA Finals this year, and was carrying the team on his back through every game, and it showed how bad the trade was, because literally the day after, at halftime, it's the Mavericks 45 and the Cavs 91. You gave up 91 points in the first half. It doesn't matter who you're playing. 91 points in the first half sucks. That's terrible. Like, that's genuinely god-awful.
We bounced back from that Sixers loss, didn't we?
Yeah, the loss to the Sixers.
We bounced back from it, though, and then we dropped 91 in the first half and then beat them by 40. So,
I don't think the Sixers won a game since then, honestly.
You haven't.
Okay,
You're on a 2-game losing streak.
Hey, one more, and that's called a losing streak, okay?
You're on a skid. How's that?
One more is called a losing streak.
But the But I think this is a great trade for LA. They completely fleeced the Mavericks.
Yeah, the question is though is
You have
how
something on your face.
okay. The question is though is how LeBron and Luka will, I guess, gel on the same team, because it's not like they have two personal like problems here. It's just they're both scorers. They're both great scorers, and we don't know how that's going to gel when they're two guys that mainly have the ball on their own teams.
They are both great passers as well. They're both very good at passing. Stop.
It could either end up being like it goes wrong and one of the guys just doesn't score, or it could be both of those guys share the rock a bunch and both like split 25 points a night. So.
It'll be scary. That team is going to be scary.
Yeah, that'll be a scary team to run to.
Here's the problem, right?
The one problem is when Luka and LeBron aren't on the floor, they've got a bunch of John Browns on the...
They got John Brown and Bronny James.
Yeah, they've got John Brown, freaking, I don't know, Dom Smith or something. I don't know. I'm just coming up with names here. They've got people that are not real people. They have non-player characters on the bench, plus Bronny James.
They need to get some more big men help, because I don't think Markieff Morris is going to suffice.
Yeah, I mean, when both of those guys aren't on the floor, it's Markieff Morris, Bronny James, Joe Random,
Maxi
Joe
Kleber.
Random, and Maxi Kleber. Like, might as well just like, it's like the one like starting 5 team. It's like Kwame Brown and a bunch of other bums like that. Yeah.
The one that
Yeah, Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kwame Brown. Speaking of another big trade, another 3-team trade, De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin go to the Spurs for Zach LaVine, Sissoko, and 3 second-round picks, and Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and Kevin Huerter go to the Bulls.
I do believe that Sacramento also got a first-round pick from the Hornets.
They did.
So that will be interesting to see how that plays out, especially because they don't have LaMelo. But
it's the 2025 Hornets pick, the 2027 Spurs pick, and the 2031 Timberwolves pick. That's the picks that the Kings received.
I think, honestly, I looked up their stats and I looked up their ages, and I saw how De'Aaron Fox and Zach LaVine are surprisingly close in age, and are also like they're also averaging.
You can it keeps rolling.
They're also averaging like similar amounts of points. And I mean, I think this is a great trade for the Kings. When I saw this, I thought the Kings were getting robbed. But now they have 3 first-round picks and Zach LaVine that they just got. I think they won this trade.
The one thing is that again they got older. It's not like they got actually no they didn't. You just said they were the same age. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, they're similar. I think he's like 1 or 2 years older than him, but that's not really much.
But like now at this point, they don't have a point guard, and the Bulls and the Spurs now have 2. They have Chris Paul and De'Aaron Fox are going to be on the same team along with Wemby.
Just move one of them to 2.
Who do you think ends up playing the 2?
I think it'll be De'Aaron Fox. He's a little bigger.
He's also a little bit more of a slasher too. He can go to the rim.
Yeah, but I mean, if the Spurs aren't good in the near future, then that Hornets pick and that Spurs pick and maybe even the Timberwolves pick will be good. It's crazy to think that 2031, we're talking 6 years from now, which was 2019, was 6 years back.
But I think that pick won't be as good as you think, because I really believe Anthony Edwards is the next big thing. I don't think that Timberwolves team is going to be very
he's still got 6 years left in him?
I think Anthony Edwards has 6 years left in him.
He's been playing for about 4.
10 years, I think he got it.
Celtics Shaq.
And Jimmy Butler was almost traded to the Warriors, and now the Warriors eye Zion Williamson.
He'll eat the table. Rumor is he'll eat the contract.
But
Zion Williamson,
it's the same thing that people thought.
He's a big guy. He's got some size to him, but I mean,
he still averages 20 points a game.
He's still averaging 20 points a game. not really number 1 overall pick material, but he's
He's putting up crazy stats though.
It's okay. I mean,
the problem is he doesn't play all 82 games.
Yeah, and the Pelicans. Who really wants to play for the New Orleans Pelicans? No one wants to play in Smoothie King Arena. The Smoothie King.
That's such
King
a dumb name for
Smoothie King. They could have gotten anything, but they chose Smoothie King.
That might be the world's worst arena name.
That's one of them. That's one of the worst arena/stadium, ballpark, whatever sponsors.
The 76th place is pretty terrible too.
That's better than the Smoothie King.
I agree.
That's better than Smoothie King.
But I think that where do you think Jimmy Butler's gonna end up?
I have a feeling he won't get traded.
Really? You think they're just gonna let him walk?
Yeah.
In free agency?
Yeah.
Where do you think's a good landing spot for him?
Guangdong Tigers.
Is that your go-to answer when you can't think about it?
No, I genuinely think no team will really want him.
Because he's
apparently kind of a character, so.
Do you think that Zion gets traded or no?
I don't know. He's kind of like that entire franchise, so they'd have to play really hard to get with that. Like I'm talking, giving up like Kuminga or something for him.
The Warriors have to trade literally anybody but Curry to get that done. Like Draymond's gonna have to be part of that package to match salary.
Yeah, somebody.
It's gonna be hard for them. So on to hockey, which had just as much trade news as the NBA did. JT Miller was traded to the Rangers, along with Brandstorm and Dorrington, for Philip Chytil, and Victor Mancini, and a top 13 protected first round pick.
That's actually not a bad trade for either team.
The Canucks players were not happy.
But the JT Miller is a great part of the organization in the locker room and on the ice too. Like I feel like it's kind of sucky to trade away a guy like that.
He's a big part of their team. I know the locker room was really liked him, and they're very not happy.
Yeah, they were not happy when they traded him, and rightly so. I mean, he's been their most consistent and productive player the past 3 seasons. Elias Pettersson's been great, but I mean, he just can't stay on the ice. So, really, that whole thing was based around JT Miller and Quinn Hughes, honestly, but I'm not sure why they would really trade him. I mean, the question was really asked a lot towards like the beginning of the trade deadline. People started thinking of that they might trade him, and they did. And I feel like both teams got decent deals, but I feel like the Rangers obviously won this deal.
I thought it was a good value. That top 13 protected pick is gonna be, it could be good.
Yeah, but it's top 13 protected. So if it's 12 or 13, then it's going back to the Rangers,
which will suck.
Yeah, that'll be terrible for the Canucks. So they're really banking on making the playoffs here, or just barely missing. So the lottery will be interesting to watch with them in it.
And then the Marcus Pettersson and Drew O'Connor go to the Canucks for Danton Heinen, Vincent Deschutes.
Close enough.
And that New York Rangers top 13 pick. So that pick goes to Pittsburgh.
Okay, so the
Canucks.
The Canucks just, I don't know. I mean,
congratulations, you played yourself.
Dan Heinen's decent, but I mean, he's not like. Is he really? Danton Heinen and a couple like role players are not really worth a first round pick.
Did I say that right?
I don't know. No one really cares.
And this is another team that probably is not going to end up being in the top 13. Isn't going to end up being in the top 13 because the Pittsburgh Penguins are not very good this year.
Yeah, the Penguins aren't great. And the pick might be going back to the Rangers, which would be an ultimate steal.
That would be a steal. Carolina also got Rantanen and Taylor Hall, and Jury and
DeCosto
go to Colorado, as well as
Martin Martin Aegis, yeah.
And Chicago got a ton of picks.
Yeah, that'll benefit Chicago in the future because they're not a win now team. They are
No.
definitely not a win now
They're
team.
worse than the Sabres.
And that's really saying a lot if you're worse than the Buffalo Sabres.
They're like 18-31, I believe,
Yeah,
is the Blackhawks.
and that's not good. So,
you think?
I think it's good for them to get a bunch of picks, but the trade between Colorado and Carolina is the real one we care about. With Martin Aegis and Mikko Rantanen
And
Taylor Hall, but I think that it's pretty even. Martin Aegis was the leading scorer on the Hurricanes leading up to this, and has been the leading scorer I think the last 2 years. So that's a huge, I think, grab for the Avalanche. But sending over Mikko Rantanen, who's a veteran, he's been there forever, and obviously Taylor Hall going there from the Blackhawks is also pretty substantial for them. I think both teams are really in it to win it and could really make some serious damage come May and in the
Do you
Stanley
think
Cup
those
playoffs.
teams could beat the Florida Panthers?
I think the Panthers could. I think the Panthers could get beat by Carolina. I see Carolina making a run in the playoffs. I think the Stanley Cup Finals will be the Carolina Hurricanes and the Dallas Stars.
And the winner?
I gotta think. Give me Stars in 6.
Stars in 6?
Yep.
Okay. And Kuzmenko and Pelletier and 2 picks go to Philly, and and I believe it's the Flames get Frost and Farabee.
I mean the Flyers are losing Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee, who they weren't the most productive players in Philly, and they were kind of in the doghouse with the coaching and stuff. So no surprise really seeing them go. And Kuzmenko had a decent season 2 years ago, but hasn't really had that point pickup. And then the 2 picks will obviously help. But I feel like both teams benefit. I think Calgary benefits for being a win-now team, and I think that the Flyers benefit for being a win-later team.
And then I agree. And then last but not least we have 2 things left for hockey. Utah Hockey Club unveils their 3 finalists for their team name. Keeping the Utah Hockey Club, the Utah Mammoth, or the Utah Outlaws. All of which I think are stupid.
I like the Mammoth. I think the Mammoth's kind of cool.
I don't know. The Yetis should be.
Yeah, it should have been.
They should be the Utah Yetis.
It should have been the Utah Yetis or Yeti or whatever. It should have been the Utah Yeti or the Utah Sasquatch or something like that.
Yeah, it should have been something cool.
Yeah, the Bigfoot. I don't know.
And then instead, no, you give us the Outlaws and the Mammoth.
At least it wasn't.
We had an Elmira Mammoth down here.
They had another name in mind, and it was like some mountain range that was really weird. I've never heard of in my life.
And everybody thought it was stupid?
And everyone thought it was dumb, and they axed it from the thing immediately. So
they were like, "Oh, this one's cool." Everybody was like, "What is that?"
Oh, that's cool. It's a cool little mountain range name. No, that's stupid. No, it's not.
How did we get to the Outlaws and the Mammoth?
I don't know.
And how did Utah Hockey Club get this far?
How did Utah get a team? Honestly, how did Utah get a team?
Because it wasn't going anywhere in Arizona.
Hot take. I think Utah should have no sports teams because I think Utah isn't a real place.
Why is that, Mason?
I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a real place.
Name one thing in Utah.
You can't. It's the Salt Lake, and you can't. That's it. It's just
Salt Lake, and then
it's just mountain.
It's just mountain and a lake full of salt.
It's just a mountain and a weird lake, and a team called the Jazz. I don't think there's any Jazz in Utah. Is there any Jazz being played in Utah?
Well, it used to be, I believe, New Orleans.
Yeah, the New Orleans.
And that
Jazz.
makes sense.
That made sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
But you know what doesn't make sense? The Utah Jazz. What fun is there to do in Utah? Jazz, it's all kind of fun, Jazz thing in New Orleans is kind of a fun thing. Then here you go to Utah. I don't think there's anything fun in Utah. They don't
then-
have Mardi Gras there.
Our final thing for hockey, and before we get to the player, game, and bum of the week, Brandon Halverson signs a 2-year extension with the Lightning.
Okay.
No thoughts?
Wait, who?
Brandon Halverson.
Okay.
That must be their backup goalie, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Okay, then that's on me. So, player, game, and bum of the week, Mason. Who's your player of the week?
Oh, you go first.
I'm gonna have to give it to Donovan Mitchell going against all of the Mavericks, and as a team they put up 144 points. So
yeah, the player of the week I think is just the whole Cleveland Cavaliers team because they did smoke them.
what's your game of the week?
Game of the week, I might have to go that Cavs one. That Cavs one was pretty good for Cleveland fans.
I agree. I can tell you who it's not.
Mavs fans, they had a rough week.
No. No, I mean Flyers fans had a rough week.
Oh yeah,
You saw that game.
They did too.
What was that game's end score? Wasn't it like 4-0?
I don't know. They haven't scored a goal in 3 games, so hopefully that changes tonight.
I guarantee you by the time you people see this, it hasn't changed.
If it doesn't, I don't know what to do anymore.
And last but not least, who is your bum of the week?
I think it goes to the entire organization of the Dallas Mavericks.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah, and I think it's also shared by the Flyers, the Philadelphia Flyers. They have not scored a goal in 3 games, and I bought an Atlanta Thrashers jersey just to prepare for when they move to when they inevitably move to Atlanta. So
will you wear that in the next episode?
I might.
And I think I'm gonna give it to that. There's a hard word because we got a decent amount of bums this week. I think I'm gonna give it to the Vancouver Canucks for trading JT Miller and then trading the pick they got. That would have been a top 13.
The first round pick.
Yeah, nice job, dummies. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Just remember the spring training pitchers and catchers report next week, and we will be there, not next week, but the week after, to ask players some questions, hopefully. That'll be it. See you.